right? I did. I'm not crazy. That's not what I want. Okay, I think it should be working.
Okay. We could just cut it.
I don't really know. We could just say ignore the first part.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm Katie.
I'm Danielle.
And we decided to work together on our project because we wanted to do some research about sexual assault in America and overseas and how media coverage corresponds with both of those. So that's what we decided to cover today.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is mass rape during times of war. And rape has been used as a wartime tactic for as long as war has been going on, mainly because it's not like a weapon where you fire it once and then it's useless. It's more like something that you can use over and over again to intimidate the enemy and really get the other side to surrender. And it's been used in basically every major war that's ever happened. A lot of countries often have contradictory statistics about the types of rape and the amount of rape that happens due to national bias, and we decided a good source for this would be the book Half the Sky, and we have some quotes from it here that say, in recent genocides, rape has been used systematically to terrorize certain ethnic groups. Mass rape is as effective as slaughtering people, yet it doesn't leave corpses. It leads to human rights prosecutions for things such as the UN, which usually handles these types of things, and militias consider it risky to engage in firefights with other gunmen, so instead they assault civilians. The most cost-effective way to terrorize civilian populations is to conduct rapes of stunning brutality.
Okay, so we also thought it would be good to cover campus rape in America because that's really kind of coming to the forefront of people's minds, which is a good thing. So we went on the Bureau of Justice website and we found that 1 in 5 women on college campuses is sexually assaulted. And we also found a survey that questioned over 3,000 female students about their experiences with sexual violence. And the really sad thing is that only 45% of the women had never experienced sexual victimization, which means that over half of them had experienced it before. But not hardly any of the people who had experienced it had bothered to report it to the police, which means that it wouldn't be a part of the federal crime statistics because that's how they get their information. So it just makes you think of when you look on government websites like that, when you're talking about rape, you can't really know how accurate it is because of the issues with our criminal justice system. A lot of women are discouraged from reporting the incidents.
So Katie and I found a statistic, a visual picture that really sums up what she just talked about. And it talks about how 91% of colleges reported 0 incidents of rape and only 9% reported at least 1 incident. And there could be a few things going on there, like either the college really is withholding information about sexual assault, they do not have the resources to provide to sexual assault victims, or they are just not responding properly to victims of sexual assault. And that's a real problem because we do know that 1 in 5 women will experience rape or sexual assault in her college career. So whenever you see a college reporting no incidents of rape, it's just very unrealistic and should raise some red flags.
So we wanted to do a little research about why exactly people choose not to report it to the police. And so we found some literature in terms of college campuses that would cover that. So typically, when people think of rape now, you might think of some creepy guy in like a trench coat jumping out from behind a bush, but that's really not how it happens. Most rapes are committed by an acquaintance or a friend or a significant other of the victim. And also, especially on college campuses, alcohol and drugs play a big role in a lot of the rapes that happen. So anything that deviates from the norm or of what society thinks the norm is going to discourage that woman from reporting her rape because she may not even feel entitled to call herself a victim of rape if she believes, it's her fault or that she had some hand in it. And, So, it's okay. So then we also decided to pull some more from Half the Sky about why women who experience rape as a war tactic wouldn't report. And so this quote says, says they dragged her out of the clinic and carried her off to prison where she was chained to a cot by an arm and a leg. The crime, fornication, for by seeking treatment she was acknowledging that she has engaged in sex before marriage and she did not provide the mandatory 4 adult male Muslim eyewitnesses to prove that it was rape. So today, where there's a lot of conflict, some of those countries and regimes have very different ideas about sex and rape than we do here. So it actually would be more dangerous for the women to come forward about their experience than just to stay silent.
So when we talk about media coverage, in terms of media coverage for mass rape and war, there's virtually none in modern American news, despite the fact that it continues to go on. When there's coverage of news, there's a lot of times coverage about the other enemy, soldiers that have died that day, which is important. But the fact that this is still taking place and that no one is talking about it really speaks a lot to how hard it can be to even find statistics about wartime rape and just the prevalence of it. But the good news is that coverage of sexual assault on America's college campuses has increased over the last 5 years, and two of the biggest names when you talk about sexual assault on college campuses have been Erica Kinsman and Brock Turner, and while their cases are similar, the media coverage of them was very, very different. Erica Kinsman was a student at Florida State University who was raped her freshman year by Jameis Winston, whom at the time was a huge football star at Florida State and still is a huge football star in the NFL. And her case was handled very poorly, and she got a lot of public backlash about the fact that she came forward about being raped. On the other hand, you have Brock Turner, who was a student at Stanford, who was caught raping an unconscious woman behind a dumpster. And the media coverage for him was drastically different because he was a swimmer and because he was a white male and he was in an upper class. People were very concerned about what was going to happen to his college career because he had been accused of committing this crime.
Okay, so we found this meme online that really kind of sums up how people responded to Erica Kinsman. It's pretty awful. Extortionist extraordinaire is a really horrible way to describe a victim of rape. She was basically dragged through the mud on all kinds of sports shows on ESPN that, get millions of viewers, and they really just focused on, what was wrong with her story and things like that, when really, if you take a look at the case, there was a lot of neglect at pretty much every level of the criminal justice system, really just starting with the main investigator of the case, and her family actually ended up having to move away from their childhood home because of the number of death threats that she received. So it was pretty bad.
And then here we see the headlines about Brock Turner and how his name typically isn't even the first thing said. It's All-American swimmer. It's Stanford swimmer. It's what's going to happen to the swimmer. They give him this label about the fact that he was an athlete and not the fact that he sexually assaulted someone. And it really takes away from the impact of what he did. And that really can shape how people view the case as a whole and maybe not really believing that he did sexually assault someone because he's such a good guy. He's an all-star athlete. So it really just shows how the media can shape people's perceptions of sexual assault.
Okay, and in terms of coverage of mass rape, since there isn't any coverage, we really kind of were working with not a lot of research just based on, the lack of knowledge. But we kind of came up with these reasons as why there isn't any coverage in the media, why you won't see this on the news. And so we said that it's because it happens every single day. Big media platforms like social media like Facebook or CNN, NBC, Fox, their job is to really get as many viewers as possible, and talking about something that happens every single day isn't really considered noteworthy, despite the fact that it's absolutely horrific and wrong. It's also happening really far away because the areas of conflict are basically on the other side of the world, so out of sight, out of mind. Also, like we said before, the victims in these areas are being pressured into silence because it is so dangerous for them to speak up and educate others. So the information is there, but only if you know to look for it, like we did. So it's really hard for people who otherwise wouldn't be hearing about it to learn.
And one question that we wanted to ask is kind of like an advocacy piece. is poor coverage better than no coverage? And we decided that based on our research and based on our knowledge, that poor coverage is better than nothing, mainly because it gets people talking about it. It inspires people to do research, which then provides an even more solid base to have an open discussion about it. And people can still form their own opinions as long as they're aware of what's going on. So it's really important just to have a discussion about these issues and really like question why certain things are a certain way, and just try and form your own opinions and see what you could do to maybe improve the lives of and improve the media of other, so that it can be more mindfully consumed in the future.
Thanks for watching.
That was so weird. Hold on.